What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So we actually have some good news today. We have details of the upcoming bill. We're also being told that the goal is to have the framework done by this week so votes can happen next week. Yes, that is what we are hearing as of this afternoon. So let's get right into this. Because number one, if we see this go through, then the American people can start getting other benefits. We can start seeing lawmakers work on the next thing, which as of right now is going to be the government funding bill, going to be the debt ceiling, going to be voting rights, and the fourth one, after this bill is passed, then lawmakers will start discussing how they can take all the pieces of legislation that were not included and put those into another stimulus package and pass it through a budget reconciliation sometime in 2022. So let's get right into the update for today. First, the U.S. Progressive Chairwoman Pramila Jayapal, she said $1.9 to $2.2 trillion is the number President Biden floated again today. It's not the number that we want, but at the end of the day, the idea that we can do these programs is what we're focused on. We also know, according to multiple House Democrats, they say $2 trillion is the number that everybody has settled on. Joe Manchin, when he was walking in to the Capitol building today, he was asked, what is his number? He said he is still at $1.5 trillion. According to reports, everybody, and I mean everybody, including moderate Kyrsten Sinema, is at $2 trillion. Everybody but one person, which is Joe Manchin, is at 1.5. Okay? So that is actually good news because now instead of two holdouts, it's just one. We're getting closer. So here's what we know is going to be in this bill. This is according to Manu Raju and other congressional correspondents. Here's what we know. Tuition-free community college is out. They axed that. That is gone. However, there is a substitute, so I'll address that in just a second. We also know the child tax credits, which was big. This had a lot of bipartisan support as well. This is going to be extended for 1 year. Most likely just one additional year. Yes, they were asking for 4 years. It was negotiated to possibly 2. Now we're hearing it's just 1. Just 1 year. Okay? So that's big. That is very big. Because if it's just 1 year, that means in the upcoming infrastructure bill, which lawmakers are hopefully going to pass in 2022 through another budget reconciliation, well, if they're going to do that, the plan is to, as of right now, is to extend these programs a little bit further. So possibly add an additional 1 year, maybe tack on an additional 3. We don't know, but as we know more there, I promise I will fill you in on those details. It is big that they're extending this, but it's a huge loss to people that are really needing this money, okay? The other thing, as far as the child tax credit payments, there will be means testing here. This is going to be included. We also know, now we don't know for sure if it's going to include you have to have a job in order to receive these benefits. That's still what Senator Joe Manchin wants. However, he also wants an income limit as well. So the expectation is, as of right now, the income limit will stay. It will most likely be higher than $60,000 for a family, but it'll probably be right about 80 to maybe 100. But, and here's the thing, we don't know if having a job, going to school is going to be a requirement. So that's what we know there. Also, regarding home health care, Democrats were wanting $400 billion. This has been cut in half to most likely just $200 billion. A little bit of a loss there. But again, we're trying to cut this bill in more than half. Okay, that's technically, it's not more than half if we're at $2 trillion, coming down from 3.5, but it's pretty close. So we're pretty much trying to cut this in half. We also know community college scholarships are now being considered. This is big because being that tuition-free community college has been cut, they're now trying to figure out, well, can we get scholarships? And so we'll see what's coming out from that, but that was the idea that was floated today. Medicare expansion is still on the table. We know it's not going to be, we're not going to change the age from 65 down to 60. That has pretty much been eliminated, but can we include vision, dental, and hearing, those three? As of right now, the answer is still yes. According to reports, there's still talks of that $1,000 stimulus debit card as well. So that's good news there. People will still have the ability to pay for these while it takes social or Medicare and they figure out how to actually implement these. Because again, with Obamacare, it took what, like I think it was like 5 years to get some of the programs actually implemented. So this is where we have to kind of be patient, and this is where some people say, you know what, we don't have the patience. You know, we may not be around for 5 years. So can we see for the next 2 years? Can we hear for the next 2 to 3 years? Yes, we could do that, and all you gotta do is put up a little bit of money, right? So that's included as well. Universal pre-K does have quite a bit of support. This actually has some bipartisan support as well. The Affordable Care Act and funding for this has a lot of support as well. This is something that Nancy Pelosi was really pushing for. Paid family leave, here's a big one. Paid family leave. Democrats were asking for 12 weeks. They're asking for 12 weeks of paid family medical leave, right? That would have been great. Here's the problem. It wasn't cut by 50%. It's not 6 weeks. They are now agreeing on just 4 weeks. That is a report as of this afternoon. Climate change, we are going to see around $300 billion in investments for that. But now, this means that even though a lot of these programs are being cut, and these are kind of just the discussions as of this afternoon. Again, we don't have a final agreement just yet. There's no vote on this happening just yet. They're still trying to figure out the framework for this bill. But this is why lawmakers were discussing last week as to why it makes sense to already be planning to pass the next stimulus package, the budget reconciliation bill of 2022. The plan is to, as soon as this bill is passed, this current one, let's start working on the next one, because we know what is still going to be missing. We know what progressives are wanting. We know where we're still going to need some additional assistance, and we can add to it as we move in and actually out of this pandemic, hopefully in 2022. At least that's according to the reports. So one of the things that they are also discussing is once this bill's passed, the poll numbers should start looking better for Democrats. If they do, Democrats have a chance to either gain more seats in the House and the Senate. If they gain more seats in the Senate particularly, that means it's 50-50 now. Let's say it goes to, Democrats have, let's say 5 more seats, goes to 55-45. Just stick with me for a second, let me explain why. And I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if it goes 55-45, and you got Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema still there, okay? That means it's really gonna be closer to 53-47, okay? So even though 2 Democrats would most likely side more with Republicans, they're moderates, more in the middle, but siding with Republicans, voting no on some of these different provisions, there would still be enough Democratic votes to actually pass a bill through a budget reconciliation that just needs 51 votes. Again, and then the only reason why Vice President Kamala Harris has a tie-breaking vote is because it's tied at 50-50. So that's giving them the extra vote, okay? So once it's not tied at 50-50 and it goes 55-45, then really, does she have a vote? Yes, she does, in case they were tied again, but in most cases they won't be. This is a very rare instance. So we'll see what happens moving forward. What we do know, okay, here's something that multiple lawmakers have said, is that the broad consensus is that this framework must be done by the end of this week. It's Tuesday currently, so we still have a few days. Then they say votes will happen next week if the framework is settled on by this week, because lawmakers say that they have made a commitment that they need to get this bill finalized by October 31st. They say if they can get the $2 trillion human infrastructure bill finalized by October 31st, pretty much passed by October 31st, pass the $1.2 trillion bipartisan bill as well before November, then this clears up these schedules for the House and the Senate. They can start working on the government funding bill, the debt ceiling increase, and the voting rights bill. That's what we're hearing. So we will see what happens going forward, but as always, as I know more, I promise I will share more. Let's get into the supply chain issues, because I thought this was very interesting. When I read this today, I thought this was extremely interesting. According to the NRF, the National Retail Foundation, they say that there is, and listen to this, okay? And give me your thoughts down in the comment section below. But they say the only supply chain issue that we are seeing right now is due to Americans purchasing more stuff than they need. Now that sounds like us, right? We buy so many things that we don't need, right? A lot of stuff, right? But they say too many people have more money than they did last year, so now they're going out and spending it. They say that the backlog of supplies coming in, pretty much accompanied with Americans having too much money, is what's creating this additional demand and causing a supply chain issue, supply shortage. They also say that about 94% of food products are still on the shelves. It's the other 6% that we're not seeing, but the 6% is a big portion. Bread, milk, meats, right? Big issues. We're seeing a lot of issues. So this is why, according to the NRF, there is a supply chain issue. That really, it's just because there's more demand now because more people have money. We are sending out these child tax credit payments for $250 and $300 per month. Well, that's giving more people additional money, additional income. They go and spend it. That's the issue. That's, according to the NRF, what the issue is as of right now. Now, I have some very interesting news I want to bring to your attention. You may have already seen this story, but I want to ask your ideas here. I want to get your take on this. Did you know that the Biden administration has been flying in underage illegal immigrants from Texas into New York, actually from Texas to Florida and up to New York, since August 8th? They're trying to, according to them, they're trying to resettle these children away from the border. Get them away from the border so that they don't feel a need to try to go back and forth, right? So that they don't, they're not just stuck in Texas and creating issues for, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas and, the cities around there. Recent reports have been saying that there's 21 flights that have gone from Texas up to New York since August 8th. They say that more than 2,000 migrants have been moved out of Texas since then. But the big story today, and I thought this was very interesting, but the big story today was when a reporter asked the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, when she was asked today, why are these flights being taken in the middle of the night? Some say that it was just to try to cover up pretty much what the Biden administration was doing. But what I thought was interesting is Jen Psaki's response was 2:30 a.m. in the morning is not middle of the night. It's early morning. That was her response. Not much of, well, we've been doing this for a while. Here's the reason why, a little bit here and there. But I thought that was interesting that her response was pretty much just defensive that, 2:30 in the morning, 2:30 a.m. is not middle of the night. That's early morning. For me, that's early morning. I wake up about 4 o'clock every single day. So yes, 2:30 is early morning for me, not middle of the night. But for most people who wake up at 6, 7, 8 o'clock, if you're lucky, you wake up at 8 o'clock. Those people, well, 2:30 is middle of the night. So let me know your take on that. I thought that was very interesting. Now in some COVID news. I've already addressed this over the past probably a couple months, but I want to readdress this again because now there's multiple studies on this. Experts say that once you get COVID, once you test positive for COVID, once you are better and you're well, it's always a good idea to go and get the vaccine. They say this creates a hybrid immunity or something like a super immunity to the virus. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because there's multiple studies that are actually proving this. Before, it was just a kind of a theory with a little bit of backing. Now there's multiple studies that now show that this is true. Tests have been done, and this is true, that if you get COVID and then you go and get the vaccine, you will have a super immunity. But the opposite does not actually hold true. If you get the vaccine and then somehow you have a breakthrough positive case, that doesn't mean you have a super immunity, at least as of not yet. So as we know more there, I promise I'll fill you in on those details as well. But that is what we know regarding the upcoming infrastructure package, the stimulus news, the immigration issues coming out of Texas. That's what we know regarding the supply chain issues. But again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button. If you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.